See if we can see the first slide. Can you hear me well from the back? Yes? Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. All right, so let's first get a little bit of a feeling of the room here. Just very generally, who's a product person here, like product manager, product owner? I don't care, for me it's the same. Okay, leadership. Okay, junior, mid-level, senior, senior plus, like somewhere in between. Okay, Scrum Master, Agile Coach, other. Okay, good. Dear leaders here, probably whenever something was released that should not have been released in your head, or there was a planning that kind of promised something else and now something else is live, or whatever was released does not really get back the business results that you were expecting, you might not really think, damn, backlog prioritization, but somewhere deep inside of you, this little hairy monster in your stomach might actually think that. Dear everyone else, you actually might really think, damn, backlog prioritization, or at least some sort of like along those lines, whenever you look at your backlog and the items, like those 14,000 items you look at and you're like, fuck, I really don't want to touch this. Or when you think like, sprint planning's coming, please shoot me. Or anything regarding, oh shit, what should we actually build next? Here's the thing. Prioritization, no matter on which level, is difficult. Full stop. And it's not going to be easier after this talk at all. But if it becomes painful, like more than difficult, right? If it really feels like millions of knives in your stomach, then you actually have a completely different problem. The problem is not on your backlog level. The problem is all the things that needed to happen before you get to the backlog level, all the decisions that needed to be made before the backlog level either have not been made or not clearly communicated or changing all the time. And this is a problem that is not only for not leaders, but this is actually even more important for leaders to make sure that they get all those things in line that need to happen before. So therefore today, we're gonna look at prioritization from a strategic angle and look at all the whole cascade of decisions from strategy to backlog. And just to show you how serious I am about this cascade of decision things, this presentation is created on Miro and has the shape of a cascade. So what we will do is, you see there's a little tiny bit of theory, because the motto is today and yesterday and today at the conference is beyond frameworks. So we will look at some first principles, not frameworks. Promise this is a framework-free prioritization presentation. Oh, that's going to be tough. And then here we will start with the cascade. So we will go together through the decision-making processes as some example way of thinking about prioritization. And then guess where the backlog level is? It's this little line. This is the backlog level that we look at when we think shit. Whereas all these things before need to happen so that we don't think shit when we're on the backlog level. Right, so I will not talk too much about myself. I know this is like a I just recently created a QR code FOMO because I learned that you have to put a QR code on a page where you want people to connect with you. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, so if anyone wants to connect or follow, feel free. I share lots of actionable tips and tricks about product management because this is basically my goal. I want to make product management easy by making abstract product management theory tangible and practical. So feel free to connect with me or to follow however you prefer. That's it. Let's talk about the real stuff. First set of first principles. What is prioritization? Whenever I ask someone what is prioritization, the typical answer that I get is, yeah, we create a list of things and we first build on work on X, then on Y, and then on Z. Okay, it's not entirely wrong, but some things are missing. Some people say, yeah, we organize those lists based on some sort of preferences, some criteria, goals, whatever. Okay, tell me more. Yeah, we have to make some trade-offs. Yep, this is good. If you're aware, you have to make trade-offs to make a prioritization decision. Yes. What else? And then silence. When we talk about prioritization, what actually needs to be done is not only putting items into an order. There are 3 activities. We talk about first principles thinking, right? No frameworks, first principle thinking. So there are 3 activities that we consider as part of prioritization and making decisions. The first one I want to talk about is categorization. So basically, what is categorization? We collect a bunch of items, whatever we want to look at, we collect them, and then we give them a label. And then, because we use jargon and are smart, we call it cluster. That's basically categorization, putting things into buckets. And once we have those categories, whenever a new item pops up, we assign it to that category. Easy. The second activity that I want to mention is filtering. The goal of filtering is that we actually deal with a lower number of items that we had in the beginning, because usually those 14,000 items are a monster, and we don't want to look at 14,000 items, right? So we have to reduce the number of items. How do we do that? We set a specific set of criteria, or one criterion at least, and then we dismiss basically everything that does not meet this criterion or set of criteria. And then the third one is sorting. That's what we just mentioned, right? So we put items into an order. That's something that we know and think is easy, but turns out to be difficult because we need to sort it based on something. And this something, first principles thinking, is always about the return on investment that we get with this item. The thing here is return and investment still need to be defined. Default, we always think about money, right? Money in, money out. But it doesn't have to be money. Return can be a learning for the investment of time that we need to put into it or wait until we get this learning. This is also a return on investment, so it needs to be defined. And then just to make sure it's clear, it's not a linear activity of you first categorize and filter or sort. It's about like 3 independent activities that you can mix and match and use in whatever form and go back and forth in order to come to the point where you can finally make the decision that comes next, right? And this decision, we always think about build versus reject decisions, but it can be anything else. It can be experiment, or let's go analyze. We need more data for that, or whatever, right? So a decision needs to be made. Or think about the Eisenhower matrix. It's about do now, do later, delegate versus don't do. It's not about building something. It's a task. And this is the last part about this set of activities that I want to mention, that we can apply these activities to really anything. So the classic thing that we think about is epics, stories, tasks, and so on and so forth. But it's really about anything. When we want to decide on a strategic objective, we need to do some mix of categorization, filtering, and sorting. If we want to find a target customer segment to focus on, we need to prioritize somehow. We need to apply these activities in order to get to a final decision, and so on and so forth. And these also apply on any level, on a strategic level, but also on the very tactical and hands-on everyday life level. So basically, these are really 3 independent activities that you can apply anytime on any level. Second set of first principles, and that's all about theory. But all those frameworks, what shall we do with those frameworks? To be honest, use whatever works. It's not really so important, but we will get to that point. We're talking about first principles here. All the frameworks that exist can be in some way boiled down to 4 concepts. These are the 4 concepts. 1, scoring. Scoring is boring. So basically, the goal of any scoring system is understand the return on investment. Get some number that stands for the return on investment, and then basically what you do is you set your criteria, which define return, and then you score your items against those criteria. And the results is a probably ranked list of items based on the score. Something that we know, like ICE framework for scoring any kind of value poker versus estimation poker. It's all about return on investment. The second is 2 times 2 matrices. We had a little discussion in a group of product people, 2 times 2 versus 3 times 3 matrices and so on. So what is better, what is more complicated? Keep it easy, right? Simple and easy. That's where you can start and you can still build it up. But in general, any kind of matrix is a relative prioritization. It's not about saying, absolutely, this is the score and this needs to be done in this way because the score says whatever. It's about this item is probably more valuable than the other item. For this item, we have more data and more evidence than for that item. So it's a relative to each other present type of prioritization. And here again, you define 2 to 3 criteria that you want to assess the items. You draw the 4 quadrants, and then you place the item to the 4 quadrants. And the results are categorized items. And the first ones, you have a rank, right? So you can sort them in an order. Here, you have categories, 4 categories of items. And then, you, depending on what your criteria are, you decide what to do with the items in those categories. The third concept is ruling out. Again, this is like filtering, but there are different ruling out frameworks that help you with filtering. You set the criteria, and you dismiss any opportunity or solution that does not meet the criteria. And the result of ruling out is that, again, you have a lower number of items to look at. There is one prioritization method called bin stack. This is probably something that you have never heard of. Or like you're probably doing it without knowing it has a name and rules. So you can look this up. Bin stack, this is a really nice one. So if you apply bin stack properly, you might even end up with only 1 or 2 items as a result, which is something that we really want, right? That would be nice. Right, so this is ruling out. And the final one is calculation. Calculation type of prioritization frameworks want to usually assess the business impact or the business value of the items that we look at. So it's typically things like business cases or forecasts, maybe a Fermi estimation, maybe the traction model by Ashmore, like anything that helps you to define business value. And you can use this for your scoring or like your sorting or your filtering. So you can use this information to make another step, kind of like included in another step. This was the second set of first principles, okay? And we will, when we go through the cascade of decisions, we will go back to these 3 activities: categorization, filtering, and sorting, and the 4 concepts of prioritization from time to time. We will get back to these. And now, as we are crossing the border, we are starting to make decisions. And here's the thing, whenever a product person gives a presentation, there must be a quote by a guru, because otherwise the presentation is not good. And I have a trick here. I have 2 quotes by 2 gurus, which makes my presentation twice as good as any other product management presentation. Simple math, right? I could come up with a 3rd one that also fits very well, but let's leave it with twice as good. This quote is by Marty Kagan in one of his newsletter issues. He went deep down into strategy and good strategy, and he wrote a long issue about how important it is that strategy creates focus. And then he says, every good product strategy begins with this focus. Quote, good strategy works by focusing energy and resources on one or a very few pivotal objectives whose accomplishments will lead to a cascade of favorable outcomes. Quote, Richard Rumeld. If the leaders are not willing or able to make these choices, then the product strategy is doomed from the start. So now you can imagine what our prioritization journey will start with. Strategy. This is a major point for product leaders to understand very well, that any prioritization starts with strategy to create focus. So for the product leaders here in the room, you know, you set the vision for the company, for the product, maybe together with your senior product people here. Maybe depending on the company, it might be even like if you're the only product person in that company, maybe you have created this vision. And when I say vision, we talk about 5 years in the future, maybe 10 years in the future, depends on the industry. You have your hypotheses about today, and now you have to make your bets. You have to make the decision what you want to focus on as a company. Which field, which problem space, which target group to start with, what is the next adjacent target group? Make your bets. What's the problem space to look at? What are the revenue streams that we consider as promising for our company? Make those bets. And once you make those bets, you create a roadmap of some sort. Again, looking into the future, there's also a no road mapping way of handling things, but like some sort of roadmap, some sort of orientation, what the next coherent actions will be, you have to decide. And we're still talking about 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future. Tesla's roadmap is what? Build an expensive car, take that money, build a little more affordable car, take that money, build a really affordable car, take that money, and while you're doing so, build solar panels. Right? It's a roadmap on a very high level, but these decisions need to be made. Why? Because now we're going one level down the cascade, because this is what the team can work with. That is what creates focus. So let's go one level down. Have a 5 years whatever strategy, but we need to make it tangible, right? We need to be able to work with it. So let's focus on, for example, this year. There are companies that operate in 6-month cycles, some in 2-year cycles and whatever, but let's say you operate in yearly cycles. So the question is, what's your focus for this cycle, for this year? What you need to do now is filtering. As an example, by scoring. This might be the scoring thing, right? How can this look like? You can say, like, maybe this year we set our business objectives to be grow market share, fulfill more demand, and grow revenue per customer. All of that in the same year. Okay, fine, whatever. But now you can score everything, any initiative, any theme, any project, any, I don't want to say feature, because actually on this level we should not talk about features, but maybe your company operates like that. Anything that you talk about, you need to score or filter or categorize, whatever, against your goals. Even if you write business cases, they need to be assessed against your goals. This is an example of Binsta. Really look this up if you don't know the framework. It's a really good one. So you might say we only work on the outcomes or on themes or initiatives that pay into all of the business objectives. You might end up saying that, but in any form, you have to filter. Otherwise, your whole company is going to work on things at the same time, many things at the same time, and will lose focus. And as you notice, I smoothly went down another level in this cascade, because now we break it down maybe into a quarterly approach. OKRs, anyone who's using OKRs? Okay, it's an example. You don't have to use OKRs. You can use NCTs, you can use KPIs, however you operate. But let's say we use OKRs and the objectives for this quarter is create a happy customer base, grow mobile advertising, reduce time to experience the core value for new users. And then there comes a stakeholder and says, you know what, I have this marketing campaign and I know I need a new system that helps me track what I'm doing. And you're like, but our objectives don't align with that. Well, then you reject. So again, we have filtered. Right? So you might have categorized first, you might have sorted first, but you use one of those frameworks that help you filter. Great. What do we have now? We have a filtered list of opportunities or solutions that pay into strategy. Great. We are creating focus. And now you might say, but hey, this sounds pretty much like planning. A cascade is a waterfall, right? The bad W word. But we're agile. We need to implement our learnings into our planning. So how do we incorporate whatever we learn into that? And my answer to that is, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you should not stick with the decisions that you made. So my answer to this is follow the same logic. Whatever you find out, filter it against the strategic impact. And when you learn something new that changes the strategic decisions, make sure your management knows and make sure your management can actually act upon it. Example, if you are using the opportunity solution tree to run some discovery and learn new things about the market, then it's already automatically filtered against strategic impact because the framework itself starts with a product outcome that is derived from the business goal. So it already does the job of filtering for you. Same with the impact map. When you combine, for example, the opportunity solution tree with an impact map, the framework itself starts with the business goal. Right? So basically, anything that you derive from the business goal is automatically filtered against the business goal. Great. Or you can also use categorization, for example, the Kano model. Let's say you're a calendar product like Calendly or Doodle, and let's say the business goal is create an AI strategy for our company, make sure it's going to be bombastic. Let's say your focus persona is the busy product manager. Well, if it needs to be bombastic, then it can only be a delighter or a satisfier. So maybe you have done lots of research and came up with lots of ideas what you could do, but because the focus persona is busy product managers and you understand how they operate and what their world looks like, you decide that the most fitting two features are AI optimizes your calendar based on your goals. For example, maximize deep work time. And AI suggests who you should invite to the meeting because you are dealing with so many people in this 1,000 people company. Right? So in this way, it helps you, like categorization helps you to filter. Right, now we have a filtered list of opportunities and solutions from internal to external channels that pay into strategies. Now you can apply any prioritization method that you want. Now I really don't care. Use whatever you like. Now it really doesn't matter because we have already filtered everything, and we know everything that we have done will pay into strategy. Whatever we will come up with. This is an overview of like some famous prioritization methods, and I try to sort it by the activity that it helps you to do. So some do multiple things, like for example, the Kano model can help you categorize as well as filter. Opportunity scoring can help you to filter as well as to sort. So some do multiple things, but in general, that's the main first principles, or the concepts that they help you do. The main thing is, when you are already at this level, then the score itself or the method itself is really not important. What's more important is your confidence. And your confidence is based on evidence. There are those people who say like, I'm pretty confident because I know. And you're like, okay, how do you know? Yeah, just I know. Okay, fine. Then the question is how much evidence you have. And why I'm saying that this is more important than a score is, let me give you an example of the ICE scoring. When I know, when I have little confidence that the impact of an idea that I have is going to be big, then I don't care if it's easy to build. I regardless decide to experiment because I might be completely wrong and the impact is not going to be an 8, but actually a 2. Then we have built something for nothing. On the other side, like when I'm pretty confident that the impact will be big, but it's a very difficult to build thing, then I want to build it, but maybe I want to go back and find an easier to build solution to the same problem. Right? So basically really look at confidence and not on anything else. And this works again with any prioritization method, with any scoring. Like even if you build up your own scoring system, it can look like this. You can you can have your calculations and be like, how confident I am I that the assumptions in my calculations are correct? Or with matrices, really regardless, just check your confidence. And the way you can do that is either, like there are 2 ways. If you work in a company where it's more important for the people who work there to do something that a guru has created, then use the confidence meter by Itamar Gilad. It's really good. I use it in my own work as well. Or if you work in a company that says, fuck gurus, I really want our own system, well, then build your own system. I did that as well at a company that I worked for. You define the confidence levels based on the evidence that you expect that people bring. Right, and applying confidence does the following. The result is that you have categories now. Now you don't have to handle single items. Now you can handle categories, which makes, we had it, complexity a little bit more manageable. You can now decide, what should I do? These are the things that we plan to build. These are rejected. Don't look at that. Here we need more data. Let's make sure we get more data, right? And now you can make a decision on a completely different level what to do next. So we have a list of categorized backlog items now. I said backlog items. Yes, we are finally on the backlog level. And now sorted. You can have sorted things before, right? But now really, really sorted, right? Decide what goes into to execution. And here, the thing is, now it really becomes some sort of an art. Because now you need to build in many, many different other topics into your backlog prioritization. That's why I'm saying it's difficult and it's going to stay difficult. Because there might be politics that you need to handle. You might need to create a good balance between delivery and discovery. There might be other things that you need to consider, right? Technical debt and so on and so forth. So here it really becomes an art. So yes, also use your intuition a little bit to understand what is a good mix. And then, basically, just blend it. It's going to be fine. Somehow it's going to be fine. Just do it. Right, so let's get to an end. I see the -8 seconds. Let's come to an end. Let's summarize a little bit. Prioritization is difficult, and it's going to stay difficult. Good prioritization, however, starts with strategic choices from a very long term to mid-term. And this is absolutely vital for product leaders, but also the senior product people to make these choices. Yes, senior product people are usually involved in those. It always filters against strategic goals in some way. And it zooms in and out and goes back and forth. We just ran the cascade in the one direction, but it always loops back. And it always also changes decisions on the top because we keep learning and figuring things out. And it does not only rely on sorting, but on multiple different activities. Backlog prioritization pain happens when the strategic focus isn't set, the goals are not clear, or the decisions change too often. Therefore, my appeal to everyone here, prioritization is a team sport. Product leaders, please define focus and make sure your decisions are communicated well and enable good prioritization. And product managers and product teams, please ask for this focus. Now, like for everyone who wasn't aware of all the things that needed to be happened, now you're aware of it. Latest now, if you lack focus, and if you lack the information to make good prioritization decisions, ask for it. And help your product leaders by simply suggesting what you believe, suggesting options of what you believe could be good. And that's it. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.